Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Alison, and this is Maintaining Frame. He's number 73. Yes, and
Yep.
we're gonna be talking about Alison's recent appearance on a panel that was arranged by Pearl Davis. Apparently, Karen was on there too. She's not here right now, but she'll be along in a little while.
I can I think I can describe it if you guys can hear me. Uh Essentially it's going out on one of her networks. It was hosted by a young woman named Christine. So it's not really Pearl's podcast. But it's basically, I guess, guests that she wants to hear more of, or panels that she wants to hear more of. So that kind of thing. It's like a couple steps removed, I suppose, from Pearl herself.
A little,
So
but
yeah,
that's
but
that's okay.
it's okay. It's good to get the word out there and talk to new people and get them exposed. It was definitely interesting to be on a panel with people who didn't just stare at me blankly when I said, "Yeah, I don't think that men oppressed women ever." And then, everybody on that panel was like, "Yeah, that seems about right," or even had come to that conclusion separately. There was a individual who looks into the biological history, I think, of like is more of an on the anthropological spectrum of science, but he apparently was also a physicist, and he wrote a book called The Mechanics of Sex. And he seemed to understand that.
So he was on the panel.
Yeah, he was on the panel. It's a book called The
Oh,
Mechanics of Sex. I do not remember his name. Just give me a second.
yeah, sure.
Uh, and I do not think that it's the Erotic Flights of Fancy. All right, to Wilhelm Strickle, maybe, maybe. Nope, that was January 1st, 1950. All right, it's a little difficult because there's a few people on the panel and it's hard to keep track of everybody. So there was that dude, and he had some interesting things to say, particularly about like anthropological stuff related to hunters and gatherers and
Wow.
stuff on the vote. And then there was a woman who wrote The Occult History of Feminism.
Oh, Rachel Wilson.
Yeah, have
Yeah,
you had her
occult.
on?
I'm reading her book, Occult Feminism. Yeah, Rachel
Oh, okay.
Wilson is somebody I'm in talks with to come on the show. I'm almost
Oh,
finished
that's
with her
great.
book
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it would sound like a really interesting book. She was very knowledgeable about history.
Yes, the book is
And
really
then
good.
there was Karen, and then me.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a really interesting panel. It was the panelists were definitely a lot more, I think, I don't want to say highbrow. I know that sounds really
No,
snooty.
actually, that's what I was gonna say because, like, I've watched Pearl's content, and well, normally on her podcast, she has like women, kind of like normie women off the street or that have an interest, or some academic feminists and people that, are generally like either not knowledgeable or hostile. And I kind of thought that's, maybe in part what this would be, but this seemed like a necessary, almost, dare I say, academic discussion.
Yeah, it was more of an academic discussion, more on the level of theory, and yeah, very, like I said, very knowledgeable people. The woman who Rachel with the Occult History of Feminism, like very knowledgeable about history, and then the anthropologist guy, very knowledgeable about human sexuality, and also anthropology and history. And then Karen, of course, and then me, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm knowledgeable about nothing, but I was there
Oh,
anyway.
well, okay. So, what were some, let's say, how was the conversation directed? Were you just like
Well,
allowed to just be cut loose,
Christine,
or did Christine like pose some
yeah, Christine
positions
posed
or
questions.
questions? Okay.
We started with a question about uh, a trans woman who was a former football coach and was anointed a person of the year, or sorry, woman top 100 hottest women.
Yeah.
And yeah, that individual is not a hot woman. Like, if you're gonna like do this kind of, I don't know, diversifying the word hot to women who are in no ways hot, why don't you go with women who are like grandmas?
Mm-hmm.
The head of the Purple Hat, your local Purple Hat Society. Why does it just trans women? You know what I mean?
Yeah. People are
Like
saying you should be a little
not
louder. You might be
not
turned.
just
Oh, here, I'll
okay.
turn you up. No, no, I got it. I got it. Go ahead.
Okay, so why would you like if you're gonna and somebody pointed out, like, why not Blair White or Theron Meyer? Why this woman who is really unattractive?
For what? For a trans woman?
Yeah, for a trans woman, for a trans woman, yes, very unattractive woman,
Mm.
and she's being presented as in she's in the top 100 of hottest women, I think in Australia or something.
Oh,
We had
right.
a
Yeah.
discussion about that, and I just like, I'm not really that, like the trans conversation isn't my thing because it feels like it's just the latest iteration of the the search for what Karen called the monolithic infant class.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this politicization of this maternal instinct, and they're trying to find a target for it, and trans women are the latest one.
Yeah.
So I'm like more interested in the impulse behind it rather than, oh my God, insert Muslim, insert black, insert gay, insert trans, and look at them, what they're doing. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's not really where the problem stems. This problem stems, and the reason why they're getting such a huge platform is because they are the latest target of liberal women's sublimated maternal instincts. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it
So,
does. I think you're right. I mean, I think there's a well, actually that's probably the value you bring to the table though because a lot of people are reacting to whatever the most like the whatever the current thing is because the most current thing is usually the most kind of like radical expression of this of this path I guess that we're on. It's like the latest most radical
just
expression.
get,
So you got like women, well, you got trans women made women of the year and like becoming, I don't know, working for what's the Victoria's Secret, as a Victoria's Secret models or Miss America, and then
and
there's going to be a Miss Universe, and it's all just the people are responding to this, but what you're doing is saying, well, look, this started way back here, like
yeah,
you
and
know,
it's like, yeah, they're just responding to latest iteration of this impulse,
mm-hmm,
like, this is just the third stage rocket here.
yeah,
There's been other stages before now, and yes, we're pretty highly elevated at the third stage, but this is if you really want to change this around, you gotta look at the guidance system, not what's propelling it, if that makes sense.
no, it
But
does,
so we talked about that, and where was I going to go with that? Well, the trans thing is, like you said, it's just the latest iteration, and it's absurd. It's getting to the absurd. But do you remember when, like it must have been like maybe 7 years ago, Honey Bad, we were talking about Muslim men. Yeah, 7 years ago. That would be
yeah, it was
2000.
like Cologne when that happened,
Yeah, when that happened,
yeah,
and they were all like, oh, these liberal women, they're caping for Muslim men, and that was the big thing. You remember that?
mm-hmm,
And even before then, oh, these liberal women, they're caping for gay men, and all of this. Like, this is just goes in waves, and it's always getting to be more and more absurd because what they really want is an infant. Like, they want somebody who the world has to bend around utterly.
yeah,
And you have to do that with infants because they have no ability to take care of themselves. They have no resilience. They have very little ability to adjust to their circumstances. They have to be kept warm. They have to be swaddled. They have to be indulged, or they die. So that's what these women are looking for, but they're looking for that in actual adult human beings. And it just creates this intense um it's this intense dynamic of dysfunction,
Yeah.
because they're trying to force trans women to resemble infants. They're trying to force Muslims to resemble infants. They're trying to force black people to resemble infants. That's the long-term one, the black community, black people.
Mm-hmm.
That, what we see today is like several generations of infantilization by liberal women,
Mm-hmm.
which is just absolutely destroys black families and black
Absolutely.
communities.
Well, yeah, I mean, it basically has. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
but they're seeking the perfect
right,
infant.
right, and well, and I agree, and I think that, well, I don't know if they realize this in the panel, but
No, I
they
brought it up
can't,
and it
yeah,
seemed to be something they found interesting.
yeah. I mean, like because what people will do. This is what I've seen these days, right? People will look at what's going on with the trans thing. We covered Dylan Mulvaney being made Woman of the Year by it was like a gay magazine or something. So you could say they're kind of tongue in cheek with it. But it did like go make the rounds. And I said, I think this is great. I said, let's make her Miss Universe. Let's give her all the awards. Let's give her all the praise. And the reason why is because I want people to see like where this goes. But more than that, like I'm pointing out that it was, because people like J.K. Rowling, for example, are like getting in a lot of hot water because she's drawing the line. That's essentially all it is. J.K. Rowling is a pretty dyed-in-the-wool, hardcore feminist. From not even, I wouldn't even say like intersectional or like second wave. I would say probably more recent, like before the first trans woman entered a woman's bathroom. I would say she was a feminist right up to that point. Right, that's where she draws a line. But because she did draw a line, she's getting a lot of heat and hatred for it from intersectionals and progressives, etc. Because the purity testing never ends. It's an endless revolution that doesn't, until you get to the end of history is sort of like the goal. So what I'm saying is that the people on your panel, they need to realize that this is where it's going because, and I think Rachel Wilson gets it, but I don't know about the other ones, because what they will do, and what I've seen, people like J.K. Rowling, people like, I don't know, James Lindsay, who I have a lot of respect for, I think he's wrong. He'll be like, well, we just need to go back to insert decade here. Oh, if only things were like they were in the 2000s or the 90s or the 80s or whatever. But the problem is yeah, that's not going to fix it. Like, you can't really, you'd have to go back to like pre-Victorian like times to even like get a glimpse of what you're looking for. So you can only find something, like you have to come up with something new, like something forgotten. Maybe there was something that we've lost, but there's no going back to the 90s. And this is what a lot of these people do. And because they drew a line and everything before that line was acceptable, but everything after that line is not. And so they have to realize that there's no going back across that. Like it's not going to be enough. It's like, you remember those toy cars that you can pull back on them and then you let go and they go really fast. They had like a spring motor or something inside. Do you guys know that? It's like that. It's like, oh, let's just pull it back to the 90s and then release it and it just goes forward again, because we're here because we have essentially allowed this to get to this point. It's not because it didn't come from nowhere. So yeah, I mean, and I think that's if you were,
well, they need to understand the dynamics underneath it.
Yeah.
Like, and I think in a lot of cases they're very receptive to it. I don't know how much I gave them something to chew over or think about. But it is like, I think that the other point that I made is I don't think that the people who think that they're just doing this gender revolution and they're discovering true androgyny or whatever the hell they think they're doing. They're questioning the true gender roles. They don't.
Yeah.
They're 100% expressing the very instincts that they think that they're avoiding.
Mm-hmm.
Like these liberal women, they haven't gotten away from their maternal instincts. It's just their maternal instincts are directed towards political groups now.
Yep.
And the thing is that the more irrational and the more the world has to revolve itself around the group that they advocate for, the hegemonic infant class, or the monolithic infant class, the more irrational they are, the better in the estimation of liberal feminists or liberal women. I guess that's an oxymoron. So
Yeah.
each iteration is going to be worse than the last. And what's really amusing to me is now the conservatives are in alignment with the Muslims.
Yeah.
Because the Muslim, even though, 7 years ago they were like, is this the hill you want to die on, defending Muslim men? And I'm like, well, I defend all men. If they're guilty, they're guilty, but let's find out in a court of law,
Oh
And
yeah.
they were like, you this is the hill you're gonna die on. Well, I didn't die on that hill, and looky. Suddenly the conservatives are like, our Muslim brothers and sisters who are gonna fight against this next monolithic infant class that liberal women have identified. And it's like, this is okay, what's gonna be after trans women, really? That's what I'm curious about. What's going to be the next completely irrational monolithic infant class that liberal women attach to? Like, is there going to be one, or is this the one that's really going to break everything? Is this really the snake swallowing its tail, and it's finally got to the base of its own skull?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Oh yeah.
I'm hoping that that's where we're at now. But anyway, that's one of the things that I said, and so she talked about the trans women. And then she talked about this really awful, like she brought up this really awful tweet by a person named Penelope, which you may ring some bells, but this individual asserted that 7 out of 10 men masturbate to the suffering of women and children.
What?
64% of women are victims of marital rape. And a quarter of divorces are a result of men's domestic violence. And
hold on. I've been trying to adjust it in the chat, but I'm getting from people that our volumes are really different. Even though on my OBS our levels look very comparable. Could you get closer to your microphone or make sure that you're using the correct one?
Okay. I can try to get, because I'm using a different microphone, which probably I should stop doing because I guess it causes problems like this. How's that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what the chat says. There's a little lag, so we'll just wait and see what they say.
Yeah, just tell me if this is better. But
okay.
So this individual said the following: 70% of men masturbate to the suffering of women and children. 34% of women are subjected to marital rape. Of married women are subjected to marital rape, and one in every 4 divorce is due to a man's domestic violence against his ex-wife. And the person Christine, who was hosting the panel, sort of called her to the mat and said, okay, what are your cites? And apparently this individual cited a study in which men lie more, except it was one of those stupid online studies.
Oh, brother.
Oh, yeah, I know. And so it's like completely unsourced statistics. And so she was going back and forth, and women and she's 23, and she's sort of disturbed by the fact that women of her generation believe this crap. Well, I mean, it's everything that they've been told, right? They're saturated by it.
Yeah.
And it's, of course, leading to the fact that we're going to be experiencing demographic collapse because women aren't getting in relationships. They're not having children, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of it has to do, and this is what I mentioned on the previous podcast with Christine. So she was okay. I've been on 2 podcasts, guys.
Yeah, so
one
2
last week and one this week. And Christine was also the host of the previous one. I think she's sort of taking over the panel discussions for this panel.
Apparently, she's a producer that works for Pearl.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So what we talked about last week was more about the dating and getting into relationship side of things. And at the end of that podcast, I said that she brought up the idea of mandatory monogamy, and we all discussed that, and we went through it and talked about it. And in the end, I said, well, okay, can we just try something a little less than mandatory monogamy? Why don't we try shared custody, presumption of shared custody on divorce, split the assets, 50-50, no alimony. So improve the divorce laws for men, and stop presenting men as the worst choice a woman can make in terms of her life, like having a husband. That's going to be domestic servitude, or he's going to be abusive to you, or he's his masculinity is toxic. So we basically say to women that the worst thing you can do to yourself is have a man in your life. Like,
Yeah.
maybe we could stop shooting ourselves in the foot. Instead of just saying, oh, let's make monogamy mandatory, why don't we stop condemning men's masculinity as criminal and toxic? Stop condemning relationships with men as slavery. Just stop shooting ourselves in the foot, and maybe our foot will feel better. And I think she sort of took that to heart. And this one, she's again sort of referenced that when she's talking about this woman putting this out and basically making the culture around men even more toxic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the culture around, she's basically saying, this Penelope is basically saying to women, oh, if you get in a relationship with a man, you're getting in a relationship with a fucking demon, right?
Yeah.
So she's actually pushing this greater and greater lack of a desire to be in a relationship with men, refusal to be in relationships with men, thinking that a relationship with men is terrible, that kind of thing, right? And so I think she picked up on that, because I made that connection for her with when you have feminism saying that men are a poor choice in partner, and that masculinity is less than worthless, it's criminal. Less and less women are going to get in relationships. And until you fix that, you are going to be looking at a situation where the number of relationships decrease every generation. You have to fix that. We don't need to talk about mandatory monogamy. We don't need to even consider it. Let's just do that first. Stop underselling men, or anti-selling. What is the right word for it? Stop demonizing men. Stop pushing agitprop against men. Stop saying that relationships with men are horrible, onerous burdens. It's like, let's do that. Like, before we even talk about enforcing monogamy, why don't we just do that? And she sort of took that to heart. And the other thing is that what I noticed in this podcast is she made a connection that I made a while ago.
Yeah.
You can't address men's issues.
Is this the host, the producer you're talking about?
Yeah. Yes,
okay,
Christine.
Okay.
This is who I've been talking about this entire time.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Yeah, go ahead.
She made this connection. You can't start addressing men's issues with feminism. You can't start addressing men's issues if you are demonizing them as the oppressor. And she said that, and she's making these connections, and it's cool to see. Like, this is something that I did not know would happen like 20 years ago. Well, maybe. But as things get worse, people are starting to make these connections and realize something has to move, something has to change. So, I mean, ultimately, yes, I know that, for example, Honey Badger Radio is very small, especially compared to someone like Pearl, which I think she goes more for the sensationalist stuff, which is fine, because somebody has to do it, right? Someone who's got to break the ice.
Yeah.
But what our purpose is to keep this going, to keep the conversation going, regardless of how many people necessarily are listening, hopefully enough to keep it alive long enough that a larger body of people, there's the pain is sufficient, like I talked on them about the chasm, the pain is sufficient for the large body of people on the other side of the chasm to realize, I don't want to be here anymore. So we're on this side of the chasm, keeping the light on, right? So that when the people on the other side dealing with the misery machine and descending into greater and greater depths of pain finally look up and decide that what they're doing is fucking them, and they look over and they can see us on this side of the chasm with the beacon lit, right? And saying, hey, it's, coming over here will be less painful, at least on a psychological level, right? And that's the point of Honey Badger Radio, is to keep the beacon lit. And it's good to see that more and more people are realizing that the solutions we've done in the past aren't freaking working. You can't blame men to resolve a problem that's caused by blaming men.
Who'd have thunk?
Right?
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk, right? Who would have thunk? Big thunk right here. Big damn thunk.
Doing me
but
a
like
thunk.
I said, it's doing me a thunk. And, I don't, like, we're going to probably go into comparing Pearl and Roma, right?
Yeah, I got the
Yeah, why
shorts.
don't we do that before?
I got the shorts page up, so we can look
Good.
at a couple.
Okay, let's look at a couple.
All right, let me go to that. I don't know if Karen's gonna show up. So if Karen shows
Let's
up,
compare,
I'll have to turn off this this audio thing. This
You might want to do it
reaction
anyway.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, people, this is something we're trying out, guys. Do you like it? Tell us.
Yeah.
If you think it's creepy,
I mean,
I'm
I
sure
think
you'll
it's
tell
all
us.
right. It gives it.
Oh,
You
I
know,
forgot to do my
there's some
spiel.
activity. Yeah, you should do your spiel before we do that. Go ahead.
Okay, right. Yes. If you guys want to send us a comment, please do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. We get the full benefit of whatever funds you send, and you get the full benefit of being able to confuse us in a larger amount of text, and also avoiding YouTube censorship. Although we still may reserve the option not to read certain things that we know will get us screwed. But anyway, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Send us a message. If you're enjoying this content, you just want to say hi, I like you, you're not screaming into the void. feedthebadger.com/justthetip. I've extended the deadline a bit on my fundraiser for my editing. We did make the sub goal, so I put up the next goal. So thank you to Karan Strong. He put in the final $100 that got us to this sub goal. And
Nice.
now I've put up the next sub goal. Of course, this is an ongoing thing because this project is an ongoing project.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. That's really nice. Thank you.
Who knew that writing looks like it's going to end up being a trilogy as long as Lord of the Rings would be a difficult process, but it is. All right, so if you want to help me out with that, get the next stage of editing funded, feedthebadger.com/support. We have less than a day left on it. I put another day on it because we did get to the sub goal. So yeah, feedthebadger.com/support, because, let's face it, all the literature that I'm seeing right now, or almost all of it, is either decidedly neutral, suspiciously neutral. So you know that it's probably a conservative writing and they're just not alluding to anything. Like that's writing today. It's either suspiciously neutral or actively anti-male.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's what and people are like, well, why don't boys read anymore? Why is boys literacy going down? Well, because they have a choice between not reading and becoming even more suicidal.
Yeah.
Because the shit that's being pushed out there.
Yeah.
And it is shit. Like, it is absolutely cliched, stereotypical crap that's going out in under the term literature, which it isn't. It's freaking 1984 AI machine problem. You just input feminist and then it comes out. Anyway, I would honestly advise anyone with a young son not to let them read. Just keep them away from reading because it's so fucking awful.
And we got a Karen.
Yeah, we got a Karen. I am slightly traumatized from because what happened is I was looking at how books start, just to get an idea of how I should start my book, because beginnings I suck at. And so I did a whole survey of what Goodreads thinks is the top literature of the last 3 years. And I just downloaded sample after sample after sample after sample. And I swear to ever living fuck, at least 1/3 to 1/2 of what I read was some kind of feminist dystopia. And it's just getting sickening.
Yeah.
The sheer level of delusion. So if you want to fight back against that, fight back against the misery machine pumping more and more fear porn about men into the atmosphere, then help me create a story that's not that at feedthebadger.com/support. And after this show, sometime tomorrow, we'll be doing the monthly fundraiser. So if you want to support the show, you can also do that at feedthebadger.com/support. All right.
All right. Well, hey Karen, how you doing?
Hey, Karen.
Oh, yeah, no, I finished cooking.
What are you guys
Yeah.
having?
What did you cook?
Oh, no, roasted potatoes, beets, carrots, and onions, roasted in ghee with herbs, and then dry brine pork tenderloin, pan fried in a grill pan.
Sounds amazing.
Oh no, it is. It's like one of the perennial favorites.
I've been fasting today, so.
Oh, why would you do that? But yeah, no, it's literally
Health
it's
reasons?
one of the easiest meals. It takes time to
Partly.
cook, but takes like over an hour to cook all of it. But it only takes about 15 to 20 minutes of prep, and then you just kind of have to keep an eye on it. So it's like one of those meals that if you have someone home during the day, right? It's not like a slow cooker meal, where you put it in the morning and then you set it and forget it for like 8 hours. You actually have to keep an eye on it, but it's like so little work. It's insanely easy and it's so good.
Okay.
And my husband can eat it and it won't kill him.
Yay. So I just
That's like the first priority. So
I just gave him a rundown of how the panel went. Like Christine is really on the ball with.
Yeah, we're talking about that. Might as well
receiving things.
Keep talking about
Christine, like everybody was awesome. David, I remember him from last time I was on the panel with him. He's like super smart. Rachel was really freaking insightful, and she told me things that I didn't know, which is like she rattled off names from the 1700s that I was not familiar with, right? And then Christine was a good host, except she had a hard time herding the cats.
Yeah, herding you. Well, no, actually, everybody was a bit of a.
Everybody was just like, okay, but and then.
Yeah.
Yes, and then, and so everybody wanted to expand on everybody else's points.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, which is like a great discussion. It just is. It would be really hard to be a host. She did really. She was very patient
for another 3 hours.
Sorry?
Yeah, she was very patient. I'm sure that all of us could have discussed this for another 3 hours.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, we could have all just like been. It could have been like a 7-hour stream of us all just going off on our tangents and like seeding ideas in this soil and that soil and all the other soil. And it was like both of the panels that I've been on with Pearl, or Pearl's, like in the Pearl endeavor, right?
Producer Christine, Pearl's producer, I think is what.
Yeah, but the first panel I was on, like, because I was on Pearl's podcast with Paul Elam, it was just me and him, and then I was on a panel with Pearl with 4 other people. David was one of them, and that was like incredible, right? And then this one, also incredible. So she's like actually collecting very smart people who have a range of
Christine, I think in particular, is
Chris,
driving force in this.
Yeah, no, she was and she Well, and it's like that the whole idea of this is to get like a bunch of people who are sort of, I think, have overlapping views, but not necessarily like identical knowledge, which is excellent. It's a beautiful freaking thing, because like I've learned stuff from from the panel I was on today with you, and then the one that I was on before a couple of weeks ago. So
Yeah. And then there's me. I don't really. I have much more of a, I guess, overarching thing going on.
Well, I don't know whether you have an overarching thing, other than like you always have something to add, and that's one of the things that I really like about you, is you always have something to add, something that maybe people didn't notice, people didn't think of, people didn't, express, and something deeper for them to think about. And that's actually, like I said, like Ms. Esoteric, but that has an incredible amount of value. And so like you're the perfect person for a panel with other people who are very knowledgeable about their particular corner of these topics.
But I just noticed actually, because on the previous panel I was with Christine, I pointed out some things about the loss of relationships, and I said basically, well, they were talking about enforced monogamy. I think I told you about this, Karen, and I'll try to be brief because I've already mentioned it on air. They were talking about, she brought up the subject of enforced monogamy, and they had a long discussion about that, and I said, well, why don't we can we talk about something that's a little bit less severe than enforced monogamy? Like, why don't we correct some of the issues that men face in divorce, and also stop saying that masculinity is less than worthless, and that relationships with men are terrible investments for women? Why don't we stop that messaging and see if that improves anything? You know what I mean? And I think that she sort of took that to heart. And because today, I don't know if it was me, it might have been other people too, she talked about feminism itself as something that needs to be challenged before we can even start recognizing men's issues.
Yeah.
And that's something that took me a long time to really internalize. Like, a long time with this stuff. I would have feminists come at me and say, oh, you're just an anti-feminist. You're just saying these men's issues things because you just want to discredit feminism. Well, first of all, if recognizing men's issues discredits feminism, then in order to recognize men's issues, we have to discredit feminism. Like, you've just explained why you have to be non-feminist and feminist critical and anti-feminist in order to be a men's issues advocate. Like, right there.
I just think that you have to, like, I don't come at it from like the motivational thing where it's like, okay, so if I want to get this done, I have to oppose this other thing. No, for me, it's just like, is this freaking collection of bullshit over here, is it valid? No? Okay, we shouldn't be basing the entirety of our social organization on bullshit, right? That's but it's like, so I'm not necessarily like the outcome oriented. Like, yes, of course, the bad outcomes, there is some outcome orientation there, but more for me, right? It's less pragmatic, and it's just more like, actually, you're lying, bitch. Like, everything you're telling me is not true. And, someone is wrong on the internet, and I can't go to bed until I've corrected them.
Okay, well, in my case, I came at this from a men's issues advocacy standpoint, and I struggled with feminists saying, "Oh, you're just an anti-feminist. You don't really care about these issues." And it took me a long time to just be able to say, but feminism, the feminist framework, is the strongest dismissal of men's issues out there. I mean, until we take away people's ability to dismiss the issues, they're not going to face them.
Yeah.
You know, and also to realize that it was 100% projection, because that's what they do. They use women's issues to promote their particular ideological framework. They don't really care about them. That was a huge black pill for me. Like, the moment I realized that feminists don't care about women, that was like, wow.
Oh, why would they care? Why would they care about women? All they care about is their own narcissistic black hole.
All they care about is feminism, and thus women owe feminism nothing. Okay, so we were gonna look at some.
Yeah.
Pearl
So you've done 2 talks, and they're gonna be uploaded as videos, right?
Yeah.
And they're gonna be on the Audacity network.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just gonna display that for people. So this is one of Pearl's channels. She's got, I guess, like 3, maybe, I don't know. So she has her main channel, and then there's one, it's like wife training or something. I don't know if it's like as popular. And then there's this. The Audacity network is brand new. No videos on it yet. But I guess that's where this content's gonna go.
Yeah, I think so.
Any subs yet?
Huh? Subs? Yeah, it's already got like 2.23 thousand. So like 2,300 or so, 2,200.
No, that's not bad.
Yeah, I mean for a channel with no content, yeah, that's not bad. So yeah, I mean it'll probably grow. I hope that Pearl promotes it, but I imagine she is turning her brand into a business, so she is gonna try to, like, you know, send people there. So, but I do have her channel up, and I also have, because you wanted to look at Chloe Roma. These 2 are the reason why is because, and I know we've talked about them before on this channel, but these are probably the 2 largest channels that have the most followers that discuss men's issues, and do so kind of regularly, right? Like they're constantly creating content.
Oh, it was Roma.
Roma, yeah, Roma
Like
Army is the name
Roma
of the channel.
Army.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Roma
yeah,
Army. Yeah. Chloe Roma was her channel name before, and Chloe Roma has 1.67 million subscribers. Pearl has 1.84 million subscribers. So Pearl's got about 20,000 more. No, 200,000 more.
200.
Yeah.
200,000 more subs.
Mrs. Wu, can you go away? Just go lie down, Mrs. Wu.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Sorry, my dog. She's just like wandering around wooing. But yeah, no, Roma
versus Pearl content, and then have a discussion.
Okay, Roma has disappointed me. Pearl has yet to disappoint me.
You have disappointed me.
I am disappointed. Son, I am disappointed.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of like Godfather.
With Roma. With Roma, she has disappointed me in the past. I have felt like she's surface level, just riding a trend, right?
Yeah. This is a trend?
Pearl.
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, Chloe Roma has made her channel pretty big. I think like if you are young and middlingly attractive, and I'm not insulting her, I'm just saying you don't have to be, you have to be young, female,
she's got edgy tattoos.
Yeah, edgy tattoos, right? But I'm saying you can basically blow up making almost any kind of content if you. The biggest advantage is being female. And if you're in the men's right space and you're doing it, it's like, you know, dude, guys are going to pay attention. Like, They just are. This is just a reality.
Yeah,
it's
no,
not the
you know.
stuff that we talk about.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like Christy O'Misty. You remember?
Oh,
You
I remember her.
Christy?
Yeah, I'm still friends with her
Yeah.
actually on Facebook.
Yeah, no, she's fine. She's great, right? But she wasn't really saying anything new. She was
No.
she was always just kind of, you know, her thing was when she first started out, when she first had her channel, it was mostly polemics, right? And that very traditionalist, right? And then, you know, after she had to take a break for a while there, she came back and she had a little bit more nuance and a little bit more, had put a little bit more thought into it, and she was a little more, you know. But I think a lot of the reason why she got such a following was because she was attractive. She was a young, attractive woman.
Yeah.
And and even if you look at Roland, right?
Roland?
Man, woman, myth.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, he had really polished videos. He was very good at constructing like a video in terms of production, post-production, all of that stuff, right?
Yes.
And citing his sources and stuff. But a lot of his appeal was his voice and his accent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was just he sounded very British and very intellectual and very calm and very serene, and it was just very nice. Just pleasant.
I thought his content was great, but like what were the differences? Because I don't think Roland or Man Woman Myth blew up in the same way that
he did. Well, he blew. Okay, dogs. He blew up in the Manosphere, right?
Yes,
he did. Right, he was very popular in the Manosphere. In, you know, and then his channel disappeared, and that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But can you guys stop? It's a man walking by with a baby stroller. Oh my God!
It could be a goblin in that stroller.
Yes, or a zombie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
or a T-bone steak.
No, but they wouldn't be barking at that. They'd just be like trying to climb out the windows.
So, okay, what we were trying to get at was the difference between Pearl versus Roma, and what you think.
And well, and just like in terms of production value, in terms of, you know, sex appeal, Roma is better looking than Pearl. I'm sorry, she is, right? She just is. No, she is.
Yeah, I know
Believe
a lot
me.
of people seem to like Roma. I don't get it. I do not.
Okay, I'm not saying that Roma is smarter or better than Pearl. I'm just saying she's more physically attractive than Pearl. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That's just the way it is, and that means that Roma has an edge where she doesn't have to perform in the other areas, in the other corners of the arena here. Right? Yeah. Pearl actually has to keep it fucking real, and she has to be on top of her game, and she has to be able to fucking dunk, and, you know, and she doesn't have the excuse that, you know, ooh, good fundamentals, you know, that makes up for my inability to dunk.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I was gonna say what my thoughts are, because there is a different, like, Man Woman Myth blew up in the Manosphere, and I loved his videos. I was addicted to them. I would watch them multiple times till it all sunk in, you know, till I got every little thing that he was putting out there, all those little nuggets of wisdom. And he blew up in the Manosphere and the sort of red pill men's rights space. But the thing is that Roma and Pearl have millions of subscribers, right? Like at least, like almost, they're coming up on 2 million subs. That's more than Manosphere. And I think the reason, and this is what Alison asked me, because you know, Alison doesn't watch anybody's content, so I have to tell her what's in the video, you know, what's in the food before she tastes it. So
no offense.
no, I know. I'm just telling people this is the reality. Alison doesn't watch content.
Alison is very isolationist.
Yeah, she doesn't consume content. So if you say, "Have you seen this?" she probably has not. But
No, I do consume content as
well,
long as it's textual.
yeah, it's got to be written down. So anyway, she asked me what it like, because we're looking at two massive channels. These are like the biggest. I think they're probably the biggest men's rights channels, or at least kind of, Roma would call herself a men's rights activist. She's always talking about it, and I think Pearl knows, she's in that space and doesn't really have to like declare it.
Genuinely is a men's rights activist?
Well, no, I just look. This is the issue because you asked me what the difference is, and I think there are people who will tell you that will say I care about men's rights, and then there are people who will actually have that tested, or like I don't even want to say care because it's not so much but I'm concerned with justice and I want to see it done. Like there are people who will say it. And then there are people who will actually like demonstrate it when it's tested. So
are you gonna put your dick in the fucking guillotine here?
Yeah. Or
I feel like that is relevant to my interest. But go on.
Well, the dick in the guillotine? No, I mean like
no.
When you're sticking.
Not
okay.
Specifically the metaphor.
Okay. What I'm saying is that there are people who will call themselves MRAs or that they care about men's issues or whatever it is. And they will have a line. And I've said that, I was talking about this before. There's a line that if you cross it, then they're going to walk away from that, okay? And I said that the thing is with Pearl, is that you can tell which one I think is better. I like Pearl more. And the reason is because from the start, Pearl has talked with people who have been very disagreeable with her, who have been hostile to her, who she has brought on and spoken to live. She has risked her reputation. She has risked aggression. She's even had to call the cops on people and stuff. And it's not because she wanted to turn her show into Jerry Springer. I think it was generally because she thought, I'm going to sit down and talk to these people. And she brought a lot of normal women on and men on, and some people who were kind of, let's say, academically, like academic feminists and stuff, to challenge them on their ideas. So she'll do that. She'll face these people, okay, head on. And if she comes across red pill rage, which she has, she handles it okay. So I'm actually never seen her lose her mind or storm off or blow her top or anything. I've never seen it. And I think that that is Pearl's stoicism is admirable, and it's and I love the fact that she talks to people like Janice Fiamengo, like Karen, like Paul. She's spoken to those people, and of course she started. I think it was Kevin Samuels that got her started.
Yeah,
but she's moved beyond from that, and now she's solidly in the men's rights space, and she's challenging people like the Daily Wire, but she's not doing it simply because she hates conservatives. She's challenging their positions. So, and this is very important to me.
Yeah, she's like, conservatives, improve yourselves, please.
Yeah, you're getting these things wrong, okay?
So I do find it sort of obnoxious that Roma went into the men's issues space and doesn't seem to talk to people in it.
Well, she does, but the difference is Pearl will go on someone else's place. She's been on Piers Morgan. She's been on, I think she's spoken on Fresh and Fit or one of these others. She had Andrew Tate on. She doesn't have a problem getting people on that maybe people she doesn't agree with, maybe people who aren't the most, knowledgeable on this stuff. But she does seek out, I think she's seeking out the best, right? That's why she got Janice and you and Karen and Paul on, because she's seeking the people that are doing the best work. And I think that means to me, because she's not that concerned with how that reflects on her. I mean, she had Nick Fuentes on, for Christ's sake, And so
okay, I had Chris Cantwell on.
Yeah, I know you spoke to Chris Cantwell. I know.
I did a 1-hour interview with Chris Cantwell. It's still on my channel. I did a 1-hour interview with Rush V. it's
Yep.
still on my channel,
Yep.
right? I will talk to anybody, and
Right.
there's a reason why they talk to me,
Yes.
right? And it's because I'm willing to hear them out, and I'm willing to have an actual discussion,
Yeah.
right? And you know, even though Chris Cantwell is like 18 ways from crazy, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There are things he gets right.
Of course.
Even though Nick Fuentes is like an unpalatable human being with some very unpleasant opinions, there are things he gets right.
Yes, there are.
Right? That's just how it goes.
Yep.
And if you're too scared to talk to somebody like that, and you know, like honestly, if you're a person who's trying to get into, like, I don't know, the relationship between men and women kind of, you know, space, you know, on social media, and you can't talk with Kevin Samuels,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well,
if you
yeah,
can't
exactly.
if you can't talk with that guy, right? If you can't find common ground with him and laugh at some of the same jokes,
Yep.
right? Then you don't belong in that space. You
Yep.
just don't. Oh
Yeah,
my god!
so that for me is like the main difference. So Chloe Roma only appears on streams with other people if she's the host. She has complete control, and she has a line. She will call people in her, you know, audience misogynist if she doesn't like what they're saying. She still like, you know, throws the M word, misogyny, around if it suits her. And, you know, she does draw a line. Like, there are certain kinds of men that she doesn't think are good. Like, you know, like, so, you know, like,
well, there are certain kinds of men that aren't good.
Yes, but not because they've done something that, you know what I mean?
Certain
like,
kinds of male behaviors that aren't good, I think.
Yeah, well,
certain types of behaviors that men do that aren't good.
Well, that some men do that aren't good, and those men that do them sometimes just keep doing them. And so, you know, like, if you just keep doing the same bad behavior over and over again, then, you know, like, you can graduate
I'll give an example.
It's not okay.
I can give an example. I have two examples, because I had a guest on, the Tin Men. He is a friend of Roma's, and Roma recommended him, and so I reached out to him, and he came on my show and talked to me. So first of all, I'll give a direct example of Roma herself. She flipped out at the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. She believed everything the media told her about him.
Oh, Jesus, fuck.
Now, Kyle Rittenhouse is a man, okay? Wait, let me finish. He's a man, but he's the wrong kind of man. This is the problem with her. Now, when I spoke to Tin Men, it's the same thing. We talked about, it was in the after show, and we talked about Derek Chauvin. Is it Derek Chauvin? And George Floyd, okay?
Yeah.
And he said that, basically, you know, Derek Chauvin's a murderer and all that. And I said, well, here's all the data. And he didn't care. And I was like, but Derek Chauvin is a man. Like, the thing is that when you have this, the problem with Roma and those people is that they have they're still viewing men's issues with an intersectional frame. They're applying intersectionality. So that means some men are going to be more deserving than others. So look at it like going back to what Alison was talking about during the Cologne thing, when there were all these allegations of Muslim men raping women. You see, that mentality means that those men don't deserve to be defended because they're the wrong kind of men. And my belief is, which is the reason why I defended Derek Chauvin and Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein and Johnny Depp and Marilyn Manson, etc., is because they're all men. And at the very least, I'm not giving a pass to anything, you know, but I'm like, well, let's see, like, make sure they have a fair trial so we know. Because if it is bad behavior, then there should be punishment based on bad behavior, not based on, oh, he's a Scientologist, oh, he's a right-winger, oh, he's a, you know, Muslim, whatever it is. Those things don't matter.
Whatever it is, it's male.
Yeah, and whatever it is, again, yes, and whatever it is it's male when you boil it all the way down. So that's the thing I think that where Roma's weakness is at, is that she
Oh yeah.
she doesn't handle red pill rage. Like she can't, like she'll just ban people and all that. So it's like she's still big, and I think some of it might have to do with the fact that she has like a Patreon, like not safe for work, like membership of like $30 a month or something. But which again, Pearl's not doing that. So I think
No, Pearl's not keeping her.
Pearl's not doing like a Brienne of Tarth cosplay, you know, naked in a hot tub.
Yeah.
Nope. So that's another.
Sorry, that's
so. I mean,
that's a Game of Thrones thing.
I think, I know who Brienne of Tarth
is. And Pearl, just her physicality, right? Even like, just the ginger hair, the freckles, the height, the musculature, right? All of that. She could have actually been Brienne of Tarth's stunt double.
Absolutely.
And when I saw that scene where Brienne of Tarth steps down naked into the hot tub, right, with the king, I was just like, yeah, no, that's pretty nice too.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is that this is another advantage Pearl has, is that frankly she goes a lot deeper. Again, this goes back to like why she's talking with people like you guys. Roma won't do that, and I think it's because she considers Roma thinks of her audience as like her pets, right? It's like this. She continually refers to it as this men's rights community. Like that's how she refers to the people who watch her content. The men's rights community. It kind of reminds me of Rollo, how he invented it. You know, Rollo. You guys know Rollo invented all of this stuff, right? Like we're basically living in a simulation that he made. We're not even real, guys. We're a product of Rollo's imagination. So you know, it's kind of like that, you know.
Yeah. No, I just like this is one of the reasons why, you know, like I had such a hard time deciding to monetize my channel. You know, like it took me about 6 months of thinking about it, you know, from when people suggested that I turn on ads on my channel and when I decided to do it. And that was just turning on ads. It wasn't like putting a PayPal tip jar anywhere or anything. And then I put up a PayPal tip jar, and it's like, I don't promote any of that. I don't promote the ways that you can pay me. And I've never been, you know, like, subscribe, share, you know, blah, 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 leave a comment, you know, feed the algorithm. I've never done that. And it's because I just,
you said what you want to say. That's it.
For myself, right? And part of it is because I don't rely on it for my bread and butter and the roof over my head. For myself, but if I felt like I had to cater to an audience, right? If I was just like, oh, but if I say this slightly different thing that I don't quite believe, I could pull in 100,000 more subscribers. I don't want to do that. And it's like,
but even if you are somebody who does, I don't know if it will monetize the content, but you know, does get a living off of it, because me and Brian are. We can still be like, you know, I'm not going to take money from anybody who says I have to say something in any way.
Yeah,
like, I've said that to somebody. Every time someone dangles money and says, "But you know, you could." Yeah, why do you say this? Or why? What? I say fuck off, and I
say it because I want to say it, and
this is the truth. You can. If you don't like what I have to say, there's no need for you to pay it. Although, strangely enough, I have had some very interesting arguments in which we've gone back and forth, and at the end, the guy said, "You know what? I disagree with you, but I'm going to support you." I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
I'll still pay. Yeah.
I'll still not even. I'll start paying because I disagree with you. I'm like, all right, that's okay as long as you don't come back and say, hey, I've paid now. Now you have to agree with me. So I mean,
Yeah.
even if you're taking a wage from this,
Yeah.
you don't have to compromise your integrity, right? Is what I'm getting at. I don't think me or
Yeah,
Brian
but
compromise our integrity.
Yeah, no, but there's how many subscribers does HBR
Yeah,
have?
that is true, but I don't
Versus
think, you
Roma.
think Pearl has compromised her integrity?
No.
Yeah.
No. I think she's built something. I think she has an incredible amount of drive, and she has an incredible spine.
Yeah.
And an ability to talk.
Godspeed to her.
Well, I think one of the big things is she talks to people on the street. She has guests over. They do panel discussions. It turns into arguments. She's got like a team. She's constantly, creating content. I mean, that's how I think she did it. I mean, honestly, I think that's it. Like, especially because when I first got into Pearl, was Lindsay that got into Pearl first. And it was because she was watching these 3-hour streams, and occasionally somebody gets fiery. It's like the Whatever podcast. It's the same thing. That's growing really fast too, right? It's the same thing. It's like watching people that are just getting together, discussing these things, and sometimes it gets dramatic. Fights break out. I mean, not physical ones, but verbal sparring, and it's not really highbrow stuff. I mean, like, generally it's not. It's kind of like normie levels. Yeah. And that's why it attracts a lot of people too, because the normies they can relate to this.
Yeah.
At least that's what I think.
Yeah, no, and I think, but like Pearl just seems to be open she seems to have a certain amount of humility. Roma always kind of struck me as,
no, definitely. Like Pearl's been humbled. I mean, she told a story of like a guy she was dating. It was like people thought they were exposing her, as like a pick-me or something, but she was very honest about it. Like, she was dating, before she started doing this, she was dating some guy, and she thought it was going to go somewhere, and I think, like, they broke up. I forgot who initiated it, and then the very next woman that this guy got with, he married. And you know what I'm saying? And I think Pearl had to take a look in the mirror, because she was probably doing something to push him away. And she had to ask herself what it is, because this man figured it out, and I don't think he wasn't exactly a 6666 guy. So
she went on the same journey I did. Like, okay, so I'm like going through all this dating, right, and trying to find a partner after I separated from my husband, and it was just like not going well, and it was just like they would fall head over heels, and then 2 weeks later they'd be like, I'm just not feeling it anymore. I'm sorry. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And and I think it was John the Other said that was the moment that they discovered they were dating a gay man in a woman's body.
What?
I'm just too masculine for
I get
a lot of men, right? And so I had to actually start. I didn't decide I was going to change myself. I just looked for a man who was much more masculine than me, and I found one.
Like, I mean, I don't know how much masculinity is that much of a deficit, really.
Oh, it's not a deficit when it comes to like paying the bills and like keeping the house running and stuff like that. It is a deficit if a man wants to feel needed and necessary and depended on and relied on and secure in his relationship, because she wouldn't be able to she wouldn't be able to have the kind of life she has now without me. And that men have an urge to feel that way. They want to feel like their wives need them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and so, it's like you have to actually find a man who either doesn't need that. If you're one of these, if you're a woman who's like, yeah, no, I don't actually need a man, you have to find a man who is okay with that, which is very rare. Or you have to find some middle ground where you're just like, okay, well, now you do this, and this is your sphere, and this is the sphere that I don't touch. And, you earn the money, and, and it's not going to be, you earn the money, but I could earn just as much money as you. No, don't do that. Don't play that game. Don't play that game with any man, because you're just going to make him not want to be with you.
But do you think that, honestly, when on this panel, I talked a lot about how we have these people who think that they have somehow overcome their instincts, right?
No, not at all.
Because when you talk about that, that sounds like feminism, making men feel like women need them. Ironically, despite the talk of empowerment and feminism being about women need no man, ultimately it is absolute helplessness, because feminism teaches women to reduce themselves down to men's actions in every conceivable circumstance.
Sure, but they don't actually say that women, you actually need men. No, they basically say, women, you are the product of what men will allow you to be, and don't you hate that, and isn't that unfair, right? No, that is not how women should look at it. Women should look at it like, okay.
That would appeal to male psychopaths, though.
Yes, it would appeal to male psychopaths, and I'm sure it has. But like Barack Obama, the woman can do anything a man can do, and do it better, and do it in heels, right? Because he gets all of the applause, and gets the power, and gets the money, and gets the Martha's Vineyard waterfront freaking estate, right? Because he pandered to a bunch of freaking middle-aged women like Lily Ledbetter. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, and he screwed other men, he threw them all under the bus over that. But yeah, no, he's every woman's hero, but he's still sleeping with Michael. I mean, Michelle.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Big Mama Michelle.
Yeah, no, and she's got bigger biceps than he does. So, but I'm looking at it, and I'm
that.
What? Okay, was that petty? Was that petty?
Cross racial Brianna Tarth cosplay.
Oh,
transracial.
There you go.
Yeah, but okay, but what I'm saying is,
He just
right?
wants the muscle mama to walk into the
psychopaths. Okay, the male psychopaths are attracted to weak women. The female psychopaths are attracted to weak men. Right? This is clear. Of course they would be, right? If you're a woman and you're slightly masculine, you're a little bit on the masculine side. What you want is a man who has slightly higher masculine tendencies than you, so that he can still feel like he's not that he's on top or that he's in charge, but that he's the most manly man in the room.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah,
right?
That he's needed.
Yeah, that he's necessary to you.
Yes.
Right? And it's just like, how hard is it for a woman to just admit that I need you? I need you. And that's all men want to hear. That's all men as a group want to hear.
Yep.
We need you, and we appreciate you providing what we need, right? That's the whole, every single level of society, from government to commerce to corporations to manufacturing to blue collar work to white collar work to husbands and fathers. You're needed and we appreciate what you do.
Yes.
That's all they want to hear. And they don't want to have a wife, right? Who's just like, yeah, no, I could be just fine without you.
Yeah. I got some super chows. I should read the super chows. We got some super chows. So, hold on. Where are the... Oh, that's weird. Oh, here we are. Yeah, I got it. All right. So I got one from Zapier for $10, and he's
anonymous.
Oh, that's anonymous. That's right. Yeah, it's an anonymous person. I apologize. I got that wrong. And they give us $10 and says, "Have you guys covered the topic of people trying to teach behaviors without knowing how to read expression? I think it feels topically used in World of Lost Links." I mean, I read that exactly as it's written, so I would leave it to you to attempt to translate that. Want me to read it again? Yeah, unpack that.
I think I know what he's talking about. I think I know what he's talking about. He's talking about, for example, pickup artists who might treat or teach a set of behaviors to approach women, but they don't teach the men how to actually read the expressions of those women. That's very difficult to teach, I think. And I think for a lot of people who have social anxiety, this is something that I learned. It is actually not uncommon for people with social anxiety to pick up on cues that other people don't. And some of the anxiety is, of course, information overload and not knowing how to respond appropriately. You'll pick up on cues that are like you have greater insight, but okay, if I talk about that will be rude. Or if you do talk about it, if you do pick up on the cue, then people regard you as being weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a hard thing to teach.
Yeah, no, my husband's always telling me that I need more social anxiety.
Oh. I don't know about that,
Yeah.
but I understand why he says that.
Yeah, he
I understand why he says that.
Yeah, no, he's like, do you not realize how your sister just like completely dissed you? And I'm like, yeah, I just don't care.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
I got another super chow.
It doesn't make me feel bad.
Richard Bier gives us $5 and says, "Remember the steaming dump that Roma took against Kyle Rittenhouse? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Currently, Roma is engaged in a flame war against someone who led to the demise of the Inquisitor. The infantilization for the trans..."
Actually, good for Roma, because the people who led to the demise of the Inquisitor deserve to get their asses beat, metaphorically.
Sure. Let me finish the reading of this. But the infantilization for the trans community for liberal women's purse puppies is going to have a hell of a rug pull when the trend shifts to the next thing, as how many are under a medical protocol and will all of a sudden wind up with little to no social support, which is what drew many of these people into this lifestyle. Roma no longer has the nude content on her Patreon anymore. She's also fighting with a woman who threatened to accuse her husband of nonce conduct over the Wi-Fi password. All right, well, thank you for that.
But I want to do the one with the social support. Okay, this may be a completely ignorant take on the situation in the Middle East versus the Ukraine, but what I've noticed is I think basically the US has decided that the Ukraine is no longer the big priority. And so what did they do? They encouraged the Ukrainians to fight back against a power that, they could have. I know that it's not the way you want to negotiate, and I know it's really unfair that the Russians invaded and forced this situation. I'm not going to talk about the politics prior to this, but what looks like to me has happened is America supplied them with arms, let a whole bunch of Ukrainian men die, and then in the end just was like, yeah, well, I guess you got to negotiate with Russia now because we're leaving. Bye. We're going to the Middle East.
Oh no, it's not. It's not. Now you have to negotiate with the Russians. They were negotiating with the Russians. There was the Minsk Accord, right?
Okay,
Which
gotta be
was
careful though, because this is
yes, there was the Minsk Accord, which was the existing treaty between Russia and Ukraine, right? And one of its major provisions was that Ukraine would not join NATO. And what did NATO do? It was like, hey, Ukraine,
no, I don't want to
look in my underpants and join NATO. Okay, so there was that treaty, and then a month after the invasion started, everybody sat down and tried to negotiate a peace, and the U.S. and Britain and NATO went in and said, yeah, if you negotiate a peace with Russia, yeah, no, you're not, there's no guaranteed security. We're not going to protect you. You're on your own, right? You're an isolated island,
okay, but
right next to Russia. Okay. And then they blew through a second proposed treaty, right? The US and NATO blew that up. And now they're saying, oh, you're going to have to negotiate a peace. It's like every time Every time I hear Nikki Haley speak, okay, about this, all I hear is, isn't it great? With just a little money, we can defeat Putin and not a single American has to die. How, U.S.? Well, we just have to keep throwing bow hunks into the meat grinder. How many bow hunks?
Infuriating.
As many as we have to. As many as we have to for as long as it takes.
This is what's so infuriating. I don't know. We might end up getting like fucking hit by YouTube.
Okay, I'm Ukrainian. I'm allowed to use the term bow hunk.
Okay, let me just put that. This is exactly what you're talking about. All right, you're gonna fight until the U.S. just decides that it's on some other topic now, and it just it just throws its former ally out to dry. A couple 100,000 men dead because of this.
Dead and amputees.
Just walk away. Just walk the fuck away. And when I remember getting into these arguments at the beginning, and I couldn't articulate what was really fucking vexing me about this, and I can finally articulate it because it happened. The US gave all this support, and in the final
they knew it was unwinnable. They knew it was unwinnable.
In the final hour, they walked away, and they just, what was the point of that? What was gained from it? Yeah, I'm not on the Russian side. I'm not saying what they did was right. But if the alternative was peace 2 years ago, and the men who have died alive versus peace now, suing the Russians for peace now, why wasn't it preferable to do it then?
Yeah, no, what I found interesting is, like, you have Nikki Haley, like, she's beating the drums of war, right? Oh, there's still, like, at least 5 million Ukrainian men who can be sacrificed to the meat grinder for America's foreign policy, right? To see if we can't make Putin less popular in Russia, even though Putin is like twice as popular in Russia as Biden is in the United States. So, like, let's not pretend here. Okay. And, and Zelensky is even more popular than Putin is. Zelensky's more popular among Ukrainians than Putin is among Russians. But, right, they're both more than twice as popular as Biden is. Okay, so we have that. She's beating the drums of war, and there's Trump saying, you know what? I'd have this settled within a day. Within 24 hours, I'd have a peace negotiated. And you have the mainstream media saying, well, what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting we do? Right? We should just give in. We should just give up. He says, I just want the dying to stop. I want people to stop dying.
Okay.
And
Now,
that is the thing. That is the statement that everybody is taking issue with. I just want people to stop dying.
Okay, but my overall point was, yes. Okay, compared to the situation where the US gets involved in something, then walks out after having allowed however many people to die, and then just walks out into its next new bright, shiny conflict, this is exactly what's happening with the liberal women and their purse puppies. And it's going to be bad for the trans women, because you're absolutely right.
Yep.
They're going through something that's completely physically it's difficult. Any surgery is difficult. Like going through hormonal therapy is difficult. They're being set on a path that is emotionally and physically and psychologically exhausting. And then, whenever the liberal women or the left women are like, I think this purse puppy looks a little long in the tooth, and then throws it out off a cliff, all of these trans women and trans men are going to be left, and the entirety of this social thing is going to have dissolved out from under them. Like, they aren't going to have the same support.
Yeah.
So they're going to be left with shattered lives and no social support, because the liberal women have decided on a new purse puppy that they're going to champion. Yeah, it's actually pretty gross. This entire is anti-human. It's like I was saying, the Black Lives Matter. Yeah, apparently George Floyd's life only mattered when he got shot.
Yeah.
No, he
Not
didn't
when
get
he lost
shot.
custody of his
He
kid.
didn't get shot.
He didn't get shot. He
died of
overdosed.
a heart attack.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into
Yeah.
that. He died in police custody, I'll put it that way. But before that, his life didn't matter to them.
No.
They had no interest in it. Losing custody of his kids, being raised fatherless, being part of a drug culture, probably medicating his own mental health issues, not caring about his health, like the fact that he had multiple forms of heart disease. All of that is a death of despair, well before, the cops
Knelt on his
facilitated it.
neck. Yeah.
Yeah, well before that. Where were you then? Where were you talking about the issues that men like George Floyd faced then, before he died?
Yeah.
And it's like, none of this is compassion for people. None of this is true care for human beings. It's
Right.
all just turning groups of people into chess pieces in your game, in your virtue games.
Yes.
And it's disgusting.
Yep. It is.
Okay. I'm done. Okay, I'm done with the
Okay,
super
I think that's all the super chows. That took a little while.
Yes.
And let me see. I'm just gonna put done there. Send us another one if you want to, say anything else. What else? So what do you guys want to do now? You want to watch some? I don't know.
some shorts. I don't know if that's necessary. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
well, I guess
we kind of went into it pretty deep. But you know what? Let's pick one from each channel. I'm gonna let you guys pick it, and we'll watch it and get a sense. But I think we do get I think the main point I wanted to do was talk about your panel discussion, because I'm looking forward to it when it comes out. Rachel Wilson, you mentioned. I'm in talk. She was supposed to come on for a fireside chat in October, but she got sick, so I don't know if she's doing better now. She said that she had to push all of her appointments back to November, so I guess she's going to come on our show in November. I've been reading her book, Occult Feminism. I literally at the tail end of the last chapter, so it's almost done. Very interesting book. I would definitely check it out. Yeah,
I'm going to buy it. I'm also going to buy David Baker's book as well. 2 billion years of sex.
I'm almost done with the book, and I think that she has done a lot of really good research on this. Actually, I was talking to Teal Deer, because I do a gaming stream in the mornings when I can, guys. So follow me at Honey Badger Arcade if you want to check it out. And Teal Deer always comes on and talks to me in the live chat. And he's been working on a series of he's been doing a ton of research, and we've had him on a couple times to talk about he's linking or showing the links between feminism and the occult as a religion, like the spiritual root.
Theosophy.
Yeah, the theosophy of feminism.
Diana Davison.
Yeah.
She was the first person that introduced me to the term theosophy.
Yeah.
And she discussed it, like the occult, like the paganistic roots of feminism, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the mother goddess.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, and child sacrifice.
Yep. Well, that's what abortion is. Like according to
really, it's like in freaking Europe, they were sacrificing live babies. Now they just sacrifice embryos and fetuses, right?
Yep.
So it's just like, oh.
And it was mostly women doing it too. It was mostly women.
Oh
doing
yeah,
it.
no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Wasn't men who were leading that stuff.
No,
it was like the whole religion was led by women.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, I'm definitely gonna have Rachel Wilson on for a fireside chat, like in November. I hope I will. I don't want to bother her right now, but I will when the time comes. So let's go to the sources. Let me share. Am I sharing? Yeah, I am. So join me in the stream. So we're gonna look at one short from Pearl and one short from Chloe Roma. Maybe
okay.
that. So we'll look at so I'll look at the titles. Okay. So here's the top women doing things. Women are not logical creatures. This is Pearl. When women are given authority.
Top women doing things.
The top women doing things. Okay, I'm gonna play this one from Pearl. She goes after women. That's one of the things that I think that differentiates. But she goes after women, like she doesn't pick specific women. She goes after what women think about themselves. There's like a deflating of the ego. I think she's trying to do. So anyway. Let's listen to this.
You ever buy something and it's like you really didn't want to buy it, but the salesman just wouldn't let it go? Basically, they said if a guy does that, it's rape.
Yeah,
and it's because they switched and this is what women do. We go into these.
So it says great, but what she's saying is rape.
It's rape, yeah.
Yeah, so just so you know, the subtitles are a little weird, so.
Industries, and then we're like, we don't like your tone, and let's change the meanings of words. And they take these words that have meant the same thing for 100 years. Like, you ever...
So, okay, that was that short. Maybe you'll do another one.
No.
Is that good enough? More. Yeah, let's do this one.
This goes back to women, we're just not the most logical. We don't look at dating and think, well, it's probably better to have the normal guy than share the top guy. No, it's just based on how we feel. Well, I feel a certain way with him, therefore this is what I'm going for. I don't make the rules, I just tell you what they are. This goes back to
So that's basically
she's really short. Yeah, she doesn't shy away from calling out women. That is
no.
Really,
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
And of course,
I think she does it on a level that's less. I think the way we call out women may be a little bit more difficult to get into.
Mm-hmm.
She always seems to do it with a smile on her face, some humor.
Yeah.
And with really good analogies. The salesman, okay, so you bought something, you really didn't want it, but the salesman just kept on pushing you, and that's rape.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's not.
Here's one what she says about about men, I think.
Yeah.
Here.
So
we're on the same wavelength.
Steve Harvey has made money for decades. Basically, in my opinion, pandering to women. And as women, we believe anything, so it's not completely obvious to us that he's pandering. So I never understood when men would come forward and say that guy's a simp, he's pandering, and I'd be like, why? A lot of the stuff he said sounds nice, but it doesn't work in reality. And the problem is Steve Harvey pedestalizes women. He puts the women above the men. And the truth of the matter is, especially women today who don't offer purity, they don't offer youth, we're fatter than ever, we're not offering a lot of kids. It's really disingenuous to put a single mother on a pedestal. And again, I think the idea is that when you put the women higher than yourself, it messes up the natural order of things. And the natural order of things is God, men, women, children. So,
All right.
Oh well, okay. I would say the natural order of things is men love women, women love children, children love puppies.
Yeah, and also the problem with that is the natural order of things then becomes a situation where men's vulnerabilities are never addressed or identified.
Well, because they're all portrayed as strengths.
Yes. Well, they're portrayed as, well, if they have a
Or
vulnerability, then
abuses.
it's a failure to protect women or to provide for women.
Yeah,
and
well,
it's
but
like,
or abuses. Or failures.
abuses. Yeah, failures are abuses. So we can never really have the conversation about what men need. You know, and
No.
Yeah.
this is something I've talked
men
about
don't
for
need
a long
anything.
time. A long time. When we put men in this position of greater authority than women and greater autonomy, that by necessity chokes out the conversation about their needs.
Yeah.
Yes.
We find it very difficult psychologically to recognize that people who have power are vulnerable and also have their own needs. That is one of the big psychological blocks that human beings have.
Yes. Okay, let's
Yeah,
watch
well,
Roma.
that's a page out of
Let's watch Roma.
that's a page out of Jesse Lee Peterson's thing.
Beta.
You know? So anyway, thank you, Pearl. Let's go to Roma. All right, so if husbands don't want babies, get vasectomies. Men safely driving is now icky. Feminists when women want actual equality.
Are you really sure? That
Okay,
Roma
if
is more
husbands
attractive
don't
than
want
Pearl?
babies,
What?
if
Okay,
husbands don't want babies,
No, I want to hear
this
what
just
Alison
be a
has to say. Go ahead.
Okay, can this be a taste thing? Because I do not like when people say Roma is more attractive than Pearl, I can't, like, it's not even a situation where like I'm being flattering to Pearl. I cannot see this as more attractive than Pearl. Like
I mean-
I don't see, like, maybe on the same level with Roma giving off an energy where I wouldn't really want to be in the same room.
well,
with her for too long.
none of these
They're not
screenshots
flattering
are-
images.
They're
yeah.
not
Yeah.
flattering at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, like, I don't think that Pearl goes for flattering images either.
No,
She's been cleaning up a little bit, I think.
But she may be cleaning up a little bit.
her
but she
hair's a
doesn't
little
seem to
less
really-
greasy, I guess, but
Yeah.
that's a shot at you, Alice. Sometimes you have
Thank you.
greasy hair,
No, usually it's just wet.
and it's not brushed.
Actually, it's overbrushed. I found out.
Oh. Overbrushed.
I found out that I've been breaking my hair with my brush, so now I use a comb and a boar bristle to control the frizz. Were you talking about today? My hair was greasy.
No. I've just known you for a long time, and sometimes your hair kind of looks greasy because it's like separating into like, you know.
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult to deal with, my hair.
Yeah, that's why I buzz my head.
Yeah, well, but I have actually found out several things that help. Because I have naturally curly hair, I have to keep it wet, moisturize it constantly, not with and this is what maybe why you think it's greasy.
Coconut oil?
Using oils to moisturize my hair. Now I just use water mostly.
This is
And that has helped.
my sons have this problem, right? My daughter doesn't have this problem because she doesn't take care of her hair. My daughter, she showers and shampoos her hair every second day, and when she showers and shampoos her hair and conditions it, she finger combs it, and then she just goes to work. And then the next day she brushes it, and then she goes to work. And that's, she brushes it once every 2 days.
Well,
Once every
my
2
problem
days.
is that, well, I was actually trying to deal with the fact that I had a brush that was breaking my hair, which was making it frizzy. So I was putting oil in the hair to tamp down the frizz. And then I found out, get rid of the brush, use a comb, use a bristle bore brush, use water, and most of that has been resolved. So there you go.
Yeah. And my
For
son's
a woman out there with wavy hair that's just like has a little bit of like some parts are curlier, that's what you do.
Yeah, no, my sons also have like glorious blonde Jew froze. And, you know, because we're not 100% Ukrainian, we're like 1/64th Jew. And so, you know, that's where they got. Yeah, we're Ukrainian. That's where they got their Jew froze.
Oy
and yeah, oy vey. Oh my God. And my youngest, he lives in like a building that's known as the Peach Palace. It's like infamously known as the Peach Palace in our neighborhood because it is where all the crackheads and recovering addicts and like people on assistance and AISH and stuff, they all live there. And so it's like, but he was like, oh, it's cheap and it's a really nice apartment. And can you help me hide my valuables while I move them in? So that nobody sees that I have valuables in my apartment. So, but he just wears his hair loose, and he looks like Robert Plant, just out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
During the Led Zeppelin days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He just walks around like that. And nobody thinks that he's got anything worth stealing. Yeah. Don't tell anybody, but he's got a ton of stuff that you could sell for a lot of money. But
okay.
Yeah, well, so I mean, ultimately, hair is difficult. I'm not going to give her shit for her hair.
No. Look, she's just
I don't know. I'm not actually giving her shit. I just don't think she's more attractive than Pearl.
All right. Well, which video should I play? If husbands don't want babies, get vasectomies?
Okay. Yes.
All right, let's play it.
Husband be like, I don't want any more kids. Then get a vasectomy.
I'm sorry, I might be wrong here, but I thought feminism was about equality, right? Not like supremacy. Should you be expected to tie your tubes when he's done paying for your ass and the 12 kids you tricked him into having? Women be like, we don't want any more patriarchy. Then get a job. We don't want any more patriarchy. Then give men equal access to their children. We don't want any more patriarchy. So then make it that men can have financial abortion, like women have abortions. But I forgot, it's only oppressive when you force a woman into having a children she didn't want. When it comes to men, it's perfectly acceptable for me to make him financially responsible for my independent decision for 18 years, all while screaming about pro-choice and how inhumane it is to force somebody into having kids because children aren't a consequence for sex. Unless you're a man. Thank you.
All right.
She's not wrong.
I mean, she's not wrong.
I actually noticed that I feel like the tone has shifted somewhat with her.
Yeah, no, she is like, I think she's on meth. No, like
you know who she reminds me of with her like kind of, outbursty style? Woolly Bumblebee.
Yeah, but she wasn't like this a year ago.
No. Do you remember Woolly Bumblebee?
Yes, I do remember Woolly Bumblebee. Another
Brian.
That I would prefer.
Brian.
But...
Okay.
I nuked Woolly Bumblebee from orbit.
Yeah.
Go look at the blog post.
Oh, I think
posted.
I remember it. I may have read that way back in the day.
Yeah.
But you know how she kind of like she gets a little bit emotional and then melts down.
And then she was like, you have to correct this because that's not correct. It wasn't true. And so I crossed it out and said something worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
didn't erase it. I didn't delete it. I never delete anything, but...
Yeah, I think that
I think part of the problem is also the affect that she does.
Yeah, no. That, like... the shorts are.
There's a branding thing going on too. It's a different brand. Like
she's getting
Chloe's,
way more frenetic.
yeah, she's doing a character in a way, and says, "Don't be this guy." Let's see what this is.
After years of her sleeping with shitty men who don't respect her, she will find a nice guy that will forget her past. Don't be that nice guy. Thank you.
Okay, well, yeah. Don't be a simp. I mean, sure.
Yeah, and like I think that this is
No,
not
she's
just the tone has changed. I think she's
extremely
being more-
polemic.
What?
Yeah, like it. Well, I mean, Pearl is also pretty polemic, isn't she?
No, Pearl seems to be like. She seems to be very relaxed, and she just kind of has a sense of humor about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She never comes really as angry
Or mean.
Yeah, or mean, right? And Roma here, she just comes across as polemic, angry, mean, and there's
But there's
plenty
nothing wrong
of
necessarily with what she's saying.
there's nothing wrong with what she's saying. She is trying to, and there's nothing wrong with being angry or even mean. But it's like.
It's a different brand. It's a brand that I don't think I'm as interested in. Plus I find that well, Brian was saying that Roma has more difficulty with red pill rage than Pearly.
Yeah, well, she just doesn't have the patience. She doesn't have any patience.
The thing is, like, if you're doing this, right, especially if you're a woman doing this, one of the first things that's going to happen is you're going to come across men in this space, they're going to call you a chameleon, and they're going to test you, and they're because they want to make sure you're not full of shit. They want to make sure that you're legit, and if you can withstand that. So I guess it's also, that's different from red pill rage. That's more like you're going to deal with very suspicious men in the space.
Yeah, Rolo's still not sure about me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
whatever.
Exactly. But you know, again, if you just treat it like you're treating Rolo, like, oh, let's just water off a duck's back or whatever, then they'll probably, like, most of them will warm up to you. So there is that, and I think
they'll just go do their own thing and leave you alone.
Yeah,
So
or they'll make videos about you being a chameleon, like wherever they are, whatever it is.
And then you don't respond, and then nobody.
That's it.
Well, what I do is
it?
I just like, well, people can have whatever opinion they want. I will just continue to do what I think is, say the things that I think are the truth, and do what I think is productive for the future of society.
Yes.
And let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
exactly.
sure Rolo has decided on me that I am some kind of evil chameleon. Or she even thinks about me at all.
Yeah, well, he thinks that about everybody that's not him. I mean, that's basically what... No, I'm serious.
Rolo's got a pretty freaking high bar for, like, I trust me, myself, and my male offspring.
Yeah.
If and when I have them.
And that really handsome guy in the mirror.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, it's like, and I get it. I understand, and it's fine. And I think that Rolo actually contributes a lot of wisdom and knowledge and information and understanding to, like, the red pill community and stuff, right? Like, I'm not knocking him in terms of what he does and the fact that it has value. Like, it definitely has value.
Yeah.
But you know, like, it's he is a little paranoid. He is worried about women. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think every man should be paranoid about women, to some degree. You know?
Yeah.
Like, look, you know, like.
Well, I don't think he'd ever admit that. Because, but I understand.
But when I started doing these videos and stuff, and my sister started watching them, right? The sister who's the doctor who has the 4 kids, right? 2 sons, 2 daughters, and
Your sister's a doctor.
yeah, she's a doctor, and her husband's a pilot, and and they have 4 kids, a son, 2 daughter, a daughter, 2 sons, and then another daughter, and so basically, she's got the whole shebang. She's extremely wealthy and all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I started making these videos, and she said, well, I had the talk with Erica, when she was 13, 14 years old, right? You have to be careful. You have to be careful because boys are gonna want certain things that you might not be ready for, and you have to be able to look after yourself, and you have to consider your surroundings and your situation and not do anything stupid, and and just know that most boys are nice, but some boys might try something that you aren't interested in going along with. So you got to keep your eyes open, okay, because of that. And then I started doing these videos. She said, and then I started talking to my sons. So you bring your own condoms. You do not use her condoms. You bring your own. And then when they're done, you don't flush them because that's not nice to the sewer workers. But you rinse them out in hot water, straight hot water from the bathroom tap before you put them in the trash bin. Okay, because you really don't want a $200,000 baby mortgage amortized over 26 years. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay. She was like, when you started making videos, I realized I needed to actually have the talk with my boys, not just my girls, but with my boys as well. And I think a lot of parents, a lot of people, they don't realize that their sons are more vulnerable than their daughters, because at least, your daughter may be victimized. Your daughter may be victimized by somebody who's ruthless and horrible and maybe hurt and maybe even impregnated, whatever, right? She has ways out. She has ways out of responsibility for that. She has societal sympathy. And she also has revenge, right? She can report him and have him arrested, and society will punish him, right? If he contravenes her consent and impregnates her, right? She's got all these options, all these things, right? She's not stuck with a kid. She's not stuck with a pregnancy. She's not stuck with motherhood, and she's definitely not stuck with him. Right? But she can get his money. He, on the other hand, no.
Yeah.
It's completely different. And there is nobody who is going to feel bad for some 16-year-old who knocked up his 15-year-old girlfriend who gets dinged for child support.
All right, I got more super chows, and but I want to watch. Good. Let's watch one more, Chloe. This one, why do men have to die to be masculine? And then I'll read the super chows, and I think we could wrap it up, unless Alison has something else she wants to do.
Okay.
I'm gonna play the video. Okay, let's do it. Yeah.
How did men go from this to this? We used to live for adventure and excitement.
Alright, which radical feminist has his family jewels? Can you bring it back? First of all, The standard for masculinity shouldn't be dying at war. I don't really think that that's adventurous and exciting. Could be. However, it's definitely more adventurous and exciting than what you're doing, which is sitting behind a microphone criticizing other men's masculinity. When's the last time you did a leg day? Probably got chicken legs, giving that mediocre advice out here, like, oh, you're not men unless you enjoy some beer and some football and dying at war. Here's the real question. Why do you care so much? If you don't want to wear a dress, man, just don't wear a dress. Why are you so concerned about another man's masculinity? Do you feel like maybe you're lacking in some? I don't know. That's for you to answer.
I mean, the way that,
her entire
No more,
persona
Brian.
these days is
no more. No more.
no,
Okay,
it's
no
it's
more. No more.
it's really off-putting. It's, you know, like, she doesn't even give you the build-up where you're like, you know, you're giving the preamble and then you, like, you know, like me or Alison some do, start yelling like, and what the fuck, right? Yeah, but we've done a 5-minute preamble to it explaining why.
Fucking pissed.
Yeah, and we've worked our, no, she just goes straight into, like, angry, like, I don't know.
Branding.
These are
It's
shorts.
a message.
These are
This is
shorts,
branding.
and
The regular
don't-
content is a lot like this. I mean, most of her videos are shorts. Like, she took off on TikTok, basically. And these are all TikTok.
It's branding. This is her particular brand. It is not compatible with what I would like to watch. Let's think about what she's saying instead of how she's saying it. All right, she's got a point. One of the most obnoxious and unattractive behaviors, and I'll go right out a limb and say that, is when men start maligning other men's masculinity. That goes doubly for feminists who talk about toxic masculinity and start policing. But this idea, this competition between masculinity, it is not attractive. And she's got a point. Like, you're sitting behind a microphone.
Yeah, no, I don't.
On other men's. Go ahead.
I don't mind competition, masculine competition, right? Like, anybody who watches mixed martial arts, anybody who watches, like, sports, anyone who watches
that guy
soccer.
In the competition, though? Is he in the war competition?
That's right. He's not. He's sitting there going, oh, dude's wearing a dress. You know,
here's the other thing. You know that soldiers, like infantry soldiers that have seen combat, are the least likely to judge deserters.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Because they
because they know.
They know. Okay? They know what and they also know there but the grace of God go I. Because of the chaos, the intensity, and the emotions, you know, so this guy doesn't sound like he's even been in war.
No, he doesn't sound like he's been in, like, a freaking puddle.
Yeah. So he's judging from a position of security about something he really probably doesn't participate in. And I don't think that, I guess, like I said, the most unattractive thing to me in men is men who cut other men down. Right? Not call them out legitimately for shitty behavior, but cut down their sense of self-worth.
Well, here's the thing, too.
That's catty.
Right. Okay, this guy, right? A dude in a skirt. Who was that, by the way?
The singer, I can't remember. But you know what? He did that as a political move. It's not like he actually walks around in skirts all the time.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, no, yeah, I know.
Harry Styles. Harry Styles. Yeah.
Yeah, Harry Styles. Okay, so this guy is looking at Harry Styles, and he's like, he's not very manly, right? Compared to me. And, or any of these dudes who died in World War I. you know.
Sure.
And it's just like, okay, you could easily pitch yourself against, like, it's like Gilgamesh wrestling a baby.
Well,
Yeah.
As opposed to Gilgamesh wrestling Enkidu.
Can I offer
It's-
something a little different, kind of a counterpoint? I don't know the full context of that guy's video because Chloe cut him off really quickly, but I think there was an opportunity there to help that guy understand, at least like make the case that that you guys are making, and she's being a bit uncharitable, so I don't know what his intentions were. But I have seen, so like if a veteran, if an actual war veteran said the same thing that guy said, that something has happened to men, and that he, the country that he fought and watched his friends die for, or whatever it is, right, has changed. Like, oh, our society is weaker now because there's no, like my generation, I lost my buddies, etc.
If he was good pop.
Yeah.
If he was good pop.
Yeah, and I have seen, you can find videos of like World War II and Vietnam and Korean War veterans, like old men that, they went and they thought that they were doing the right thing because no one wants war. Like that, I don't think anybody wants it except for the people who stand to benefit and risk nothing, which is a very small group of people. But like in general, when men go to war, if they're not conscripted, which a lot of these wars were, but like there's definitely people who enlisted because they wanted to do what was right. I think that they knew what the risks were, and they come back and they see that our society's become more feminized because of feminism, by the way, and they are what is it? They lament that, and I don't know if that's what this guy's doing, but I don't really know what his position is. So when Chloe Roma simply dismisses him and criticizes his masculinity because he is looking at a trend that he doesn't like, which I understand. Plus, again, Harry Styles is the example, and Harry Styles is not a guy who generally likes wearing dresses. He is a guy that was wearing a dress to make a statement because he wanted to stay famous, and because the magazines, which are run by women and gay men, essentially insisted that he break some gender stereotypes, and so he did. So it's not, and I know because I talked about the article where the Photoshop was, and I looked at Harry Styles at any other event. He's wearing a tuxedo, just like any other man would, or a suit, or he's dressed nice, but in male clothes. So this wasn't him just being his authentic self. This was him doing something politically expedient, and I can only assume that the guy making the video knows that, and he was responding to it. And I think, again, if it was an actual like war veteran who did, risk his life for this country, and he sees that it's essentially being conquered from the inside, and he's lamenting that, I think that that's worthy of pointing out, is what I'm saying. And I don't think Chloe Roma she's not being nuanced enough. She's almost making a toxic masculinity argument on behalf of feminists.
Yeah.
It's bordering on that, in fact. I mean, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and like if Harry Styles is basically just putting on dresses to please the paparazzi.
Yeah, how is that not his own expression of masculinity, but as a service to women?
Yeah, no, that's a little different.
Yeah.
But I would also argue
It's almost like this conversation is incredibly difficult. And
but I would
have a lot of self-awareness to have.
I would also argue that it's harmful and debasing, and he shouldn't have done it. If he only did it because that was what would get him the photo spread,
although
right,
I would
in that
say,
magazine,
I would say that it's not good to hold up an example of extreme forms of male expendability as a standard for manhood.
No, I
like
mean,
this-
I think that
like,
he
when
was
you- when
saying
you
that
hold that up-
he was looking at it as something admirable, but I agree that it's not the best
when you
example.
hold that up, like this is the thing. Like nobody could have prepared those men for what they faced. No society could have made them manly enough. So it's like a non sequitur to put that out there as an example of society making men manly. This is more like society demanding or
Coercing.
so not coercing, like well, coercing is one word that could work, but withdrawing on men's already existing masculine tendencies is what I'm getting at. So those young men, for example, who went into World War I, there was nothing that society could do to make them the men that were capable of enduring that, right? There's nothing. There was no way that society could prepare them for it. Society had absolutely butt-kiss nothing to do with the men standing up to what they were expected to stand up to. That was innate to them. That was innate to them. So it's not a situation where you hold it up and you say, oh, look at this. These are real men. No, every man is like that when the chips come down, or almost every man is like that when the chips come down. And also, like the veterans who go through war, almost every man can get to the point where he is overwhelmed by the situation and does something like goes the wrong way or deserts. Okay? So it's like that is not what you should hold up as an example of manhood, because it is, and this is really, really hard to articulate, and it goes back to my statement about how all of this is hard stuff to talk about because it requires a depth of understanding that most people I don't think really touch. It is not something that society makes men into. So holding them up as, oh look, these are the men that society made in the 50s or whatever in the 1910s. That's not true. This is an example of society using the already existing virtues and instincts of men in possibly the most callous, useless, wasteful, and disgusting way.
For just a little money. For just a little.
It shouldn't be seen as a standard that men should rise to. It should be seen as a lowering of society, if that makes sense. Do you understand the difference?
For just a little money, we can get rid of Putin without spending a single American life. We just need to keep throwing bohunks into the meat grinder.
Yeah.
And now YouTube is going to be on our ass unless they don't care anymore.
Well, I'm Ukrainian, so they can just fucking eat it.
All right.
Yeah,
so...
but anyways, my point is this. That is not, like, the exploitation of the natural male instinct is not an example of men living up to some kind of fucking standard, because it was already in them. And there was no standard that society could place on men to make them ready for what that was asked of them, or demanded of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm coming across, because there's
no, you are.
Yeah. So right there, I am not with that guy. But
sure.
I mean, I think your meaning as well, Brian.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm just pointing out what he was probably thinking, because again, it's not like this guy has thought that much about this. So, like, if he watched this clip and he watched Roma's clip, he would have gotten a lot more out of this one, and that's the difference.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because she drops right into shaming language.
Yeah, she just shames him and basically attacks his masculinity. So, yay, I guess. Don't attack masculinity, I'm going to attack your masculinity. Nice.
Here's what it is. Okay, when you look at that picture of the storming of the beaches in Normandy at D-Day, that's what society asks of men, or demands of men. And I don't want men to feel like they have to storm the beaches of Normandy in order to be considered valuable, which, ironically, that is the moment of least value, right? Sure. Most expendability, most sacrifice. Right? And I don't want men to think that society is what makes them brave in that way, because it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's just inherent to the beast.
All right, super chows. So let me just put Badger Chan up there, just generally asking to be fed. So Richard B. Air gives us $5. Thank you, Richard. It says, I heard that Jazz Jennings actually, with all of the medical treatments, had exhausted the lifetime coverage of the family's health insurance policy. That was supposed to cover the entire family for life, even though it was a $250,000 lifetime cap. I didn't know that, but thanks for telling me. I hope that... I just hope that Jazz Jennings is okay, because I have concerns. And I'm worried, but yeah, anyway, I'm going to move on. Thank you, Richard. Then he gives us another $5. Thank you, Richard, and says, I think that the contraception take from Roma has to do with these reports that Justin Timberlake supposedly forced Britney Spears into getting an abortion because he wasn't ready to be a father, because he felt that the both of them were too young at the time. Britney has described it as the most traumatic experience of her life and would have done it differently. Yeah, I know. We're going to cover that on the news show next week. It's funny because women generally have all the power when it comes to what happens to their bodies when they're pregnant. But in this case, of course, we're going to drop all of that because Justin Timberlake has thrall. Or he did.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
That's freaking ridiculous. He didn't force her into it. He made her. He may have made his opinion about becoming a father known, and she made the decision based on that.
Yeah, ultimately she made the decision, exactly. And then lastly, we got one from Anonymous for $10. Thank you, and says, not many look that far into the storytelling to learn that nuance of characters, of even stories one might not like. All right, thank you so much. Do you have any thank yous to give, Alison, to the... We're doing the fundraiser?
No, nobody has put anything through, so sadly.
Oh, sad. Okay. That's okay. We made our goal, and we're going to be starting the monthly one soon.
Yeah, fairly soon. Maybe on Sunday we can do something like a Beat Saber.
All right.
And then we'll do more with Karen, as long as Karen is okay with it.
Silent.
As long as I'm okay with what?
With coming on again. Not about this
again
topic.
When?
I don't know.
Maybe sometime later next week.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
All right.
All right then. The plan is firming.
All right. Well, I guess take us out.
I'll just say. Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So if you enjoy this content, you want to tell us we're not screaming into the void, please send us a tip at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And if you would like to support the show, or alternatively, if it's available, the editing of my work, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/support. That link will go to whatever fundraiser we have currently live. So there you go. feedthebadger.com/support. All right, back to you, Brian.
All right. So if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. You go ahead and check out Pearl and Roma's channels in the description. And also go to Pearl's, what is it called? Audacity? The Audacity Network? That's where Karen and Alison's talks are going to be. Maybe once they go up, because I will subscribe. I think I already did. I'll share it, and then you guys can see how well that turned out. Thanks so much, and please, most importantly, please share this video, because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame with Karen, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.